Yes, it was Maggie, yeah.
Now, one of the purposes of this, which is, I suppose, a more staff-facing exercise, but which has obviously huge impact for the students in the longer term, it's been a chance to do some capacity building, some development internally with staff who have genuine interests in these areas and are able to have a bit of space through a little bit of seed corn funding to think something about it. So we've got education, tourism, business, student services and some cross-curricular things, which represents work from all the faculties of the institution. But for us, and this is what I wanted to say a big thank you for, and I'm sure this is an incomplete list and I will apologise to anyone that's missing, but we know we have colleagues from Plymouth, Bristol, Keele, Worcester, London South Bank, East Anglia, Aston, the Royal Agricultural University, Nottingham Business School, and in fact Gloucestershire College due to arrive. And for our staff to be able to present those results to people who are prime thinkers, leaders in the subject is great for us. I hope you'll enjoy meeting each other, but a great thank you for us for coming. And I must apologise, I'm going to have to dash off in the middle of this to go and chair a research committee, but I will try to come back. But I hope you have a great afternoon.
Integrate that. Perhaps it can't be done within the main curriculum. Perhaps it has to be more done in terms of how the university...
And I'm excited by the potential conversations, the questions that can come up today, and some of the learning that has come from these projects that are associated with strategies for engagement, curriculum renewal, innovation in terms of pedagogy, ways in which we connect across the disciplines, ways in which we turn all that education jargon that we see in a lot of our documentation headed our way into some practical realities in our learning, in our classrooms, in our lecture rooms, in our tutor rooms. How do we translate some of these more well-meaning, ambitious concepts into the reality of teaching and learning? And I guess that's where we're pitching the discussion today. We want to learn from each other, we want to pick up some strategies and actions, and we want to raise the question of what next? Not just for our own practice, but also for our own institutional strategies. What next? What can we do to support colleagues who are continuing to take this agenda forward? How can we support that best? What do colleagues require from each other and from the institution again to ensure that we can embed some of these innovations and they continue well beyond the life of the specific projects that we funded?
The question for me is at the heart of what you're doing today, which is, it's all very well for the ESD experts, and I'm not sure I know what an ESD expert is. I actually don't count myself as an ESD expert because I think it's a developing practice. So there have been, since the late 80s, early 90s, a group of people who've been thinking about this, and Stephen is one of those people that's been thinking about it. But
more than 30 years.
Yeah. I know. I was trying to be nice. But there are people who've been thinking about this, and they've come up with theories, they've come up with models, they've come up with frameworks. There's a common thing where people talk about, we need coherence, we need, a map so people can really follow. Actually, I've been saying since 2000, we just need people to have a go. People who don't count themselves as the experts. People who are going to take what they can from this and make it work in their own context. And that's why I think today is exciting, because I think of this as a two-way conversation. So for those of you who are just starting out and developing it, your learning is as important, I think, to the experts as some of the ideas and the things that you will get back from them. So I would see this really as a two-way conversation. There is no set good practice yet of ESD. We're developing it together. So I'm hoping that will relieve any tension about people worrying about not being expert in this, because you don't have to be. Even if you're doing some practice, you're already one foot on the ladder, and that is really worth sharing. And I will be asking some gentle questions. I'll be asking questions around the teaching and learning. How is that working? What have been the barriers? What have you learned that's been different from what you were doing before? And if we can all think about those sorts of questions as well, There'll be a bit of interviewing after each person, and then there'll be a small Q&A. We've got a World Cafe, and then we'll revisit it at the end of the day as well. And hopefully we're going to end up with 5 areas that are core, important, key questions that you as a group would like to work on today. So it's not just about the presentations, it's about taking that forward, and the 5 tables will be those 5 areas that we're going to work on.